Chase Thomas podcast. My nephew needs me to record. See, I already hate it. I hate it.
All right, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Chase Thomas podcast from still the aforementioned Chase Thomas, coming to you live from Knoxville, Tennessee, Everything School HQ. Joining me from volreport.com, it's Ryan Sylvia. Ryan, good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm doing good. It feels like we're almost in like the dog days of spring right now, where, you know, transfer portal season's over and baseball season's just not quite at postseason play yet, where it really turns up and gets exciting. But plenty of stuff to keep your eye on in terms of Tennessee sports. So it's a year-round thing. So we're doing good.
I was going to say, I mean, you say that, but I don't know, man. Like Tennessee, we're like, to kick things off here, like back in play for Duke Miles, who looked like the most logical choice after Rodney Rice. And then you go and get Amari Abram and you're like, all right, we are about done here with one spot. And maybe it's Gainey, maybe it's somebody else. But now you're like, okay, Barnes is going to stack this, and we're looking at this in the rev share model of like 15 roster spots. But I don't like, you think you're about to just close the book on Tennessee basketball's off season here, and you're like, man, we can't close any book. Like this thing is going to drag out for a couple more months, it seems like.
Yeah, it just feels like the fit makes sense though when you're looking at Miles, just in terms of they could use another two guard. Like you could go to Clarence Masamba and see if he's ready to contribute at a high level in SEC play. You could see what Bishop Boswell gives you after all this talk that's already begun around him in the offseason. But I think they could definitely stand to add a guy like Duke Miles. So if you're able to land someone like him, I do think you take it. What's curious to me about that whole situation, though, is, you know, what type of situation is it where he is going to now being released out of his NLI with Texas A&M? When you're in those situations and someone's, you know, hopping around to different schools and now going to a school and backing out and going back into the transfer portal, it's always a little bit of a red flag. But to me, you know, you kind of have to trust Rick Barnes' judgment, because he's talked so much about how important it is for them to find someone that not only fits on the court, but fits in the locker room and culturally as well. So the fact that he has reached back out to him, according to that athletic report, I think it has to give you some peace of mind in terms of that. So I'm fully in. Like, if you can grab them, go for it, go get it. But I'm still not sure if Tennessee's going to be the choice at the end of the day for him.
It's kind of one of those things where it's like, if he's okay with it and okay with like really competing here, because there's no guarantees at the two guard spot. Like that's a full on just the Dark Knight where he throws the stick. He just breaks the stick in half and just throws or is it a pull cue? I think he may have been a pull cue, and just tosses it in there and lets them all fight it out. That's like Rick Barnes is going to do this summer at the two guard spot. Because I mean, one of the cool things about this though, Ryan Sylvia, is that there's not two portal windows here. So if you're kind of worried about like, oh, what does this mean for Bishop Boswell? Guess what? The portal is closed, and that means Bishop Boswell is going to compete. Because it's one of those where at this point, if you want to keep adding, you don't really have to look over your shoulder like you do in football, where you're like, well, there's another window that we have to think about. So if we add too much in December, we might lose some guys that we don't want to lose in April. So it's just a different type of deal, and it makes more sense here. But it's also expanded roster, and the other part of it too, Ryan, that I think is so fascinating is that it's just, there's no way around it. It's going to be jarring how deep Tennessee is next year versus what we just saw. Like Barnes held roster spots, right? Like last year he had a complete opposite take where he was like, we're going to leave a couple open, and we're going to, like, I'm going to roam my guys, and we're going to balance team chemistry. And if we get banged up, whatever, then hey, that was just so it goes, like Kurt Vonnegut said, in terms of just what the season was going to unfold. And that didn't happen. Like they stayed healthy and made an Elite Eight. Next year it's like, man, there's just going to be like, the fact that they're in play on Duke Miles just tells me that like they're not done. Like someone else is getting in the boat. Like any Tennessee fan who thinks it's like it's just going to be somebody else that's just not going to factor into Tennessee basketball next year, and that this is done, I don't think that's the case. I think Barnes and this staff is adding at least one more guy that is going to be a factor next year, and it's going to be one of the most interesting training camps we've seen in a while for Rick Barnes.
I mean, they're certainly monitoring it, and that's proven by them reaching back out to Miles. And I think that's the type of player, if they're going to try to grab someone else, that makes a lot of sense because, I mean, you mentioned Bishop Boswell, and they do have some younger pieces that are still working their way up that they'd like to hold on to, like a Bishop Boswell. Well, if you look at Abram and Miles, that's two guys that are out of eligibility after this year. So they're able to come in, they're able to, make an immediate impact. And if it is those two guys, like that would be an all-time great off-season kind of battle for who can really establish themselves, if either even can in the off-season, as like that go-to guy to start and finish games in that 2 spot. But both of them would be gone. And I think that's a positive if you're Tennessee, is to kind of get those rentals almost and push you over the edge this next year and raise that ceiling for next year. While still, maybe keeping some guys like a Bishop Boswell happy where, he'll still get his run, he'll still play here and there, but maybe it wouldn't be as much as he would probably hope. But then that path to play time, if he really is someone that's going to be able to contribute at Tennessee, like you're going to have to start to be able to do that by your junior year, you'd think. So the play time would then be there for the taking. So I still think it would have to be like the right fit for Tennessee. I don't think they're desperate to add someone just that's got the stats or has this attribute or that. I think it is going to have to be a nice fit. So I think they have the opportunity to be pretty picky here, though, as this kind of portal season winds down. I don't think that they'll add someone just for the sake of adding one, I guess is what I'm getting at. So could they have another impact transfer too? Sure. Could I also see the roster that we see right now for Tennessee being the roster on the first day of the basketball season, maybe adding a guy that they don't expect to make much of an impact instead? Yeah, I could also see that being a possibility. We'll just have to see how it plays out.
That's interesting. I'm pretty bullish on it. There's just too much smoke here, right? Like there's just too much smoke, and that doesn't even include the other part of this, which is like everyone's been so all Vol Nation has just been so wrapped up in Jordan Gainey videos and what he's doing, and he's just kind of looming around campus and all that kind of stuff. And it's just, I mean, we don't know when the 5-year rule, like it seems like the conventional wisdom is the 5-year rule is going to pass at some point. Like it's going to be a 5-year deal. It's just, you don't know when it's going to happen. I think Austin Price, I heard of AllQuest talking about it potentially being in July. And it's like, okay, well, if it happens in July, then that makes things interesting. We talk about the portals opening where it's like, do you risk if that does pass in July and you have 2 roster spots open when we're looking at the 15 number there and Zakai is back? Like, how does that affect Jacoby Gillespie? Because, I mean, the keys have been handed to Jacoby. I mean, he can play off ball. We know that would, I mean, I think that would be a fine backcourt pairing, but is he okay with that? What does that do? Zakai kind of had a awesome ending to, I mean, yeah, it's not a national championship, but like, that's just, most guys just don't get that kind of ending. It was still a great send off for Zakai. But you also look at Gainey. He just makes so much sense. If the 5-year rule passed, like the one guy, you don't have to reach on somebody like Duke Miles, right? Like Jordan Gainey, no system, year 3. I mean, he just solves so many things for Tennessee in that final spot if he can be back. And I don't know if that's going to ultimately happen here. We're not going to know here for a while longer. But I mean, do you think there's, like, based on how much you know about Barnes and this staff right now, that they're holding at least a couple spots, at least 1, maybe 2, just in case that comes down this summer?
I don't know if holding the spots the word I would use. It feels more like they're preparing without them and preparing for what feels like a very likely future, which is that this won't pass in time for those guys to have that year of eligibility. Certainly still on the table in some regard, but like, if you ask me, I would be pretty surprised at this point if those guys were able to get that eligibility. So are they holding spots? I don't know if that's exactly the way to look at it. I think that they would welcome them back. Like if that did go through, I think they would make it work. And I think those are the 2 guys too that would be the biggest candidates, especially Jordan Gainey. And like you kind of alluded to, like if you're talking about like NBA draft, are you drafting for fit or are you drafting for best available? Like Jordan Gainey is the definition of taking a guy for fit right now. If you're Tennessee, it would just be a match made in heaven if they were able to somehow get him back for another year. But you would certainly love to bring in Zakai, but as you also mentioned, there's that kind of dynamic between him and Jacoby, which I'm sure they would get along great, and I'm sure they could figure out a way to share that backcourt together. But that's just an interesting dynamic of two guys that, both play point guard, and Jacoby comes in expecting to kind of run that offense. And then you'd maybe have to hand the keys back over to Zakai and take a little bit more of a back seat in your final year. It's a whole lot of different things that go into it. So the way I look at it right now is Tennessee is definitely in full preparation mode to go on without them. But if something did happen, I think they're still, going to be in a position where they could make it work.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way of looking at it. What's your gut tell you on do you think it's a Duke Miles, or do you think, it's call your shot season here. It's May 7th. Ryan Sylvia. True, like over under 50% that Jordan Gainey is one of the final roster spots for Tennessee next year.
I'm going under. I would still be surprised if that was something that passed in time for this season. It just doesn't. Everything.
Well, I think even if it passes in time, I just think Zakai now doing all the pro stuff, it'd be hard to come back at this point, right?
Which
Jordan, he's not like he's hanging out. It's all vibes here.
Which is why I think you also had to kind of close that door on Janiah Mayshak, where he's now someone that's he's invited to the G League Combine, and he's got these opportunities where if this happened the second the season ended, the national championship banners hung, and the next day they say, hey, all of those fourth-year seniors, you have another year, then I think you're looking at least Zakai, Janiah, and Jordan Gainey coming back, and you can maybe even convince Igor if he wanted to for him to come back. But now I think you definitely have to close the door on a guy like Janiah, and we'll see about Zakai. Jordan Gainey, though, is definitely someone that I think would be a perfect fit for that, I guess. If
Janiah comes back, you're not getting a mint.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's like when you look back to the Dalton Connect sweepstakes, and everyone, I think at the time, was a little bit upset about Olivier moving on and going somewhere else. But it was a situation, although they didn't play the same position, it definitely felt like you either kept Olivier and went forward with that, or you were able to go and get a big fish like Dalton Connect, who's obviously, that one worked out. So you can kind of pick your poison in the offseason sometimes, and it's a bunch of different hypotheticals around having that open roster spot and landing a guy like Nate Ament, whose ceiling is so high, or would you rather have, maybe the best defender in college basketball back? That is a tough question to ask.
Hold on. No, it's not. No, it's not, right? Like, I love Janiah Mayshak, but no, I'm going with Nate Ament. I'm gonna ride out with Nate Ament here.
The ceiling's way higher than Nate Ament, but the best defender.
Right, tell you, don't overthink Nate Ament. Like, I'm not like, if it was like a Julian Phillips type player, then yeah, I think it's more of a like, is it really worth it? Like, that I'll entertain. I'm not entertaining a top 2 player, the biggest recruit in Tennessee history, arguably. That I can't do that. I can't do it, Ryan Sylvia. Can't do it.
I agree. I would, if you
motion denied.
If you had to pick one, I would pick Nate Ament, and I think I don't have to think too hard about it, but I do have to think a little bit about it. I have to at least sit on it for a second.
I'm sending this to Shump right after we get off this podcast. This is unbelievable.
Not even just like give me half a second and go, okay, yeah, Nate Ament. It's not the most immediate decision, but it is a firm decision in the favor of Nate.
It's an immediate decision, Ryan Sylvia. It's an immediate decision.
Half a second of thinking.
No second. Yeah, give me Nate Ament. Like, just go ahead and lock in Nate Ament. I love Janiah Mayshak. Let me be perfectly here. Love Janiah Mayshak. I'm locking in Nate Ament. I'm not overthinking this. Nate Ament is no. I'm riding with Nate Ament. The guy who, let me check my notes here, could be Kevin Durant at the college level for a year. Yeah, I think I'm gonna lock that one in.
You have to balance the could part of it. Who knows?
No, who cares?
I'm still team. You would take Nate Ament in this very hypothetical situation. I just need like that one beat to go, okay, yeah, Nate Ament.
Wow. There's not a bigger Janiah Mayshak fan.
It's the best defender in college basketball. I'm fully hands down. There's not a better defender across college basketball than Janiah Mayshak.
Yeah. I'm with you. Janiah Mayshak, great defender, great player.
I just need that like 0.5 seconds. And then I'm team Nate Ament.
Okay. I'm gonna say Jordan Gainey's on the roster next year.
Okay. That'd be huge for Tennessee. Like if you're,
and I'm going to say Duke Miles is too. Let's just throw that out there. I think we're at 15. I think this is just so beefy of a roster that Barnes doesn't care. Like with going into rev share and everything else with 15, I think this is going to be fully 15 players. I think Tennessee is going to have 15 players come opening night.
I'll take neither. I'll completely fade you there.
It's a rough night for you, Sylvia. Like you're second guessing Janiah or Nate Ament. You're discounting Jordan Gainey. You're taking the under. I mean, do you see NIT for Tennessee basketball next year? Is that where we're at, Ryan Sylvia?
I mean, I think with the current roster you have to be pretty optimistic about.
So no NIT. Okay.
Look like no NIT. I think you're going at least top 5 type of seed in the NCAA tournament. I just right now it's tough for me to buy into the rule passing for a guy like Jordan Gainey. Duke Miles, I mean, we'll see. That it's still early in his most recent recruitment, I guess you can look at it. I know he had a visit lined up to, what was it, Providence? Is that right? Someone like that, Georgetown.
I have to double check. Yeah,
it was a Big East school, so that's maybe Xavier. I don't know. One of the Big East schools he had something lined up with. So that's
West Virginia made contact with him. It looks like Iowa
still. Definitely part of it, and he had that visit lined up and didn't take it in the first place. So you kind of have to get him on campus there. So I still need a little bit more traction in the Duke Miles department too for me to fully buy into that. But that's not saying that they don't find someone else somewhere else in this massive transfer portal that's starting to dwindle down. But there's still options out there that you could find, I think, if you wanted to add another piece.
That's fair. Brew McCoy medically retires from football yesterday. Ryan Sylvia goes undrafted. It was a tough year all around for Brew, and coming back. I mean, he just deserves all the love and admiration for coming back from that just brutal injury he suffered against South Carolina in 2023. I was in the building for that game. It was awful. And I'll still maintain that Brew, if that injury doesn't happen, would have had a really special 23 season. I think he was faster and he looked like a totally different, he looked like a wide receiver 1 that was very comfortable in this scheme in 23 before going down. And it's just a sad what if, because I mean, he was great too in 22 with so many big plays, especially against Florida. Just a great ball for 3 years for Tennessee. But when you think back to all the different Brew McCoy moments, what is your favorite Tennessee Volunteer Brew McCoy moment from the years?
It's tough not to say the catch against Alabama to set up the Chase McGrath field goal. Everyone remembers the field goal going through, but they don't get a chance to kick that 40-yarder if Brew McCoy doesn't wasn't maybe like a 60-40 ball in his favor, but it was a jump ball that he had to go and muscle down, and it was a really impressive catch. And I think that's the one that sticks out the most to me, because you don't get that historic win and that just insane night to see in Knoxville if you don't get that Brew McCoy catch. But the 2 other moments, you mentioned that Florida game where he had a really good game in the back of the end zone right before halftime, where Hendon kind of rolls out and gets an almost sliding Brew McCoy in the end zone for a touchdown that gave Tennessee kind of life going into halftime and a good bit of momentum. But a kind of random one that always sticks with me is it was a McCollum Castles touchdown run. I forget what game it was, but it was a run that Castles kind of broke out, and McCoy was just that lead blocker, kind of almost like a fullback hitting the hole, but down the sideline and just mowing through people down his way. Like, that was peak Brew McCoy to me, was just doing the dirty work, having an incredible frame to be that physical receiver, be a great blocker. And that play right there kind of summed it all up to me of what he brought to the table in his 3 years at Tennessee.
I love it. Be super nice. I don't know what his plans are, but man, if he just want to do a gap year and just be like a volunteer coach, pardon the pun here, for this receiver room, that would be great. I mean, they just have another vet. If Tennessee does not able to add a veteran here in the spring portal window, the days are dwindling here. If Tennessee's going to add somebody out of the portal on the veteran front at receiver, but that would be, I think, hugely beneficial. I don't know what his plans are, but man, if you could hire with the unlimited coaching staff limits and all that kind of stuff, just be like, hey, Brew, come here. It's kind of like who was I thinking of for a different role on Tennessee, and I don't remember who it was. So I was thinking about just sign him up. Oh, Gaston, where it's like, even if Gaston doesn't necessarily, it's like, just sign Gaston back, be like, hey man, we need you in the room for 1 more year. Like, here's 6 figures, come back, help us for 1 more year and have some fun here. That'd be great for Brew, just as a coach. I don't know if he would do it or anything like that, but man, he was a great ball for 3 years, and I always kind of wonder what it would have been like for him in 23 without the injury, but for him to even come back and everything else, and just how hard he worked to get back, and I don't know. one of the good ones for Tennessee that I think Vol fans will always appreciate. And also was in the Morgan Wallen video, right? Like he was involved in the come out with Nico and Heupel, and it was Brew, right? Was there anybody else in that?
Peyton, I guess it would have been.
Or in Peyton, obviously, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was pretty impressive at all. He was there for week 1 last year for Tennessee. Like I was not fully expecting him. Like you hear that, yeah, he plans to be ready for the season. It was like, man, I saw the injury. Like that's not a less than 12-month thing. It feels like, and you see him, in spring practice and then fall practice, slowly try to work his way towards returning to normal, and then he hit the practice or hit the game field and didn't look like a shell of himself necessarily that you maybe expected. Like it looked like he wasn't fully the same player from before the injury, but he definitely looked like he had an extra step or two than I thought he would. So I mean, yeah, that was a pretty impressive like I don't know how many guys could actually overcome that as quick as he did and play a full healthy season like he did.
Yeah. We are always team Brew McCoy on this very program. Here's another call your shot. Lady Vols new starter in 2025. Give me one and why.
I'll take Janiah Barker, the UCLA transfer. I think that she could fit well. You put Z Spearman at the 5, which she's, a lot of other teams, I think Z Spearman's your 4, but just the system the Lady Vols run and the height that she brings to the table, she fits that 5 role pretty well. I think you slide Janiah Barker in at that 4. You, of course, you're talking Talasia Cooper, Ruby Whitehorn as 2 of your other pieces. And then that other spot's kind of up in the air. And I always look at it too, like we've talked about on the show too. It's not necessarily the starters, it's who's finishing the games for the Lady Vols, because that starting lineup changes every single night they take the floor. So that last spot to me, and maybe that Janiah spot and some of those other spots as well, kind of are riding your hot hand, where it's like, hey, if Nia Robertson's out there and she's hitting shots and maybe you're down a few points, then yeah, you probably want Nia Robertson on the floor to hit a big shot. But if maybe you're protecting a lead and Kania Boyd's having a good game, maybe you want to bring her on for her defense. That spot feels a little bit more malleable to me. But as in terms of a newcomer that I think could close out games, be a good piece of the starting lineup, I like Janiah Barker. I think her defense, her rebounding, and then what she brings to the table as a scorer as well makes her a nice addition for Tennessee this upcoming year.
I like that. We have another call your shot question here for you, Ryan Sylvia.
All right.
I was thinking about this a lot this week. The best NFL career of the 4 Vols drafted. So your different choices here. You have Dante Thornton, who was on Raiders radio earlier this week talking about him. He goes in the 4th round. You have Omar Norman Lott in the 2nd round to the Chiefs. You have James Pierce to my Atlanta Falcons in the 1st round. And then you have Dylan Sampson in the 5th to the Cleveland Browns. Based on where they all landed and what you've seen from them in their Tennessee careers, who would you bet on when we reconvene on this very program 5 years from now? And we're like, who's had the best career? Who would you bet on?
I'll take James Pierce Jr. It's the easy one, but if you're taking someone in the 1st round, you're expecting them to be a Pro Bowl caliber player. But particularly if you're trading up to grab someone in the 1st round, you'd think that they're really special, especially at a position that it's not even like Atlanta necessarily was desperate to get another guy on the edge like that. Like because you already got one earlier in the draft.
Maybe. I don't know. Jalen Walker scares me to death because I can't, I just have Isaiah Simmons just stuck in my head of like the kind of guy where they bring him up and he's like, oh, he can play anywhere. I'm like, I want him to play edge. That's what I need him to do. It's like, oh, he can be a linebacker, an inside guy. He can be off the. I'm like, great. I don't necessarily because that requires a brilliant off defensive mind like a Kirby Smart was able to maximize Jalen Carter. Now, can Jeff Ulbrich be that guy to maximize Jalen Walker and James Pierce on the field together? TBD. But those kind of guys always scare me. Is like I understand the value pick and the value proposition there with Jalen Walker, but man, now they have Leonard Floyd, you have Arnold Ebiketie, you have you're throwing a lot of resources at the spot because you have the longest streak in NFL history of not having one player finish the year with 7 or more sacks. But yeah, I don't know. It's a nightmare for me, Ryan, because I love James Pierce, and now like I was telling people before, they're like, oh, do you want Pierce and the Falcons? I'm like, it's not about Pierce, it's about the Falcons and the curse of not having a 7-sack guy. And then talking to an NFL draft guy who compared him to Vic Beasley, I'm like, oh no, Oh no! Like one great, like he has a great rookie year, and he's like a 10-sack guy, breaks the curse, and then it's just it doesn't continue on. There's no longevity to it, and it spurts away very quickly. Like that would bum me out, man. Like that's part of the reason I don't. It's like in fantasy football when part of the reason I don't play anymore is because it always annoyed me when I'm like watching the Falcons and I have like Alvin Kamara on my team, and I'm like, I want Alvin Kamara to do well, but not too well. I'm like, it's just bad for your brain where I'm like, I don't want to watch a game like this anymore. It drives me nuts. That's how I'm going to be with James Pierce, where I'm like, I want him to do well, and then you're looking at it and you're like, and I'm having to like deal with every text from my friends and all that kind of stuff. Like, oh, I thought this guy was great, or like, oh, he's like, it's going to be overwhelming at times because it's just they traded back into the first round for him. Like, there's just a lot of pressure on James Pierce to be a plug and play, really good player for the Falcons, and I don't know. It's a lot of pressure on our guy Pierce.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be perfectly frank. I'm not picking James Pierce for any reason with the Falcons. Like that almost makes you not want to pick him, right? Like I agree. I like James Pierce Jr. as an NFL player. I think that he has those similarities to Byron Young, who's translated so like extraordinarily well to the NFL.
17 sacks in 2 years.
Yeah, like he's been fantastic for the Rams, and James Pierce could bring a similar element to the table. It's will the Falcons use it correctly? Will they get in their own way with him at times? Maybe if there's any NFL franchise that will, they're on the short list that could get in their own way with something like that. But I think that he has the caliber or the potential to make a Pro Bowl and to be that type of player. And I think them trading into the first round to grab him usually means that there's buzz around, the NFL that someone else or multiple other teams were also looking at him as a late first round pick. So just that kind of general consensus to me makes me think that he could have a nice career. If you're looking past him though, at the other three guys, Omar Norman Lott feels like someone that could just stick around for a long time in the NFL. Maybe never be like an elite Pro Bowl type of defensive tackle, but someone that, man, yeah, Omar Norman Lott hangs up the cleats after a 13-year NFL career and made a gajillion dollars. Like that feels like he could be that type of player. And going to the Chiefs to start out your career too, where there's not necessarily a lot of pressure to like they have a good defensive line as well. Like he can just kind of continue almost what he did at Tennessee and be a rotational piece at times and make an impact when he's on the field. That just feels like a good situation for him too. And then, Dylan Sampson as well. I don't feel like you can count out him having some big years. And now it feels like I'm just leaving out Dante Thornton. That's like if you had to build a receiver to add to your roster, like just physical attributes, you're building Dante Thornton. So it's a good it's a good quartet for Tennessee to put him to the NFL. All four guys have real case to have NFL careers that are, pretty long standing.
Yeah, I think all four have a chance to stick around for a while. Like I don't really hate any of the situations that all of them landed in. I think Judkins and Sampson could be a good two-headed, like, because I think people are looking like, oh, the Browns quarterbacks. Like, none of that matters. Like, it's just, it doesn't. Like, it just, Sampson's what he's going to be ultimately with the Browns is not going to be predicated on what Kenny Pickett is for the Browns. That being said, Nick Chubb, has played on a lot of bad teams, and when he's stayed healthy, he's been really good in Cleveland. And I think the Judkins combo with Sampson, I would not be surprised if Sampson's pretty good there for a while. Dante's huge boom or bust. Like Dante's either gonna be really good at 6'5", and running a 4.3, and he's gonna just be okay in Vegas, or it's just not gonna work. Like but he's got to stay on the field. Like the whole thing with Dante is he's got to get the snaps up. He's got to be, he's probably got to put on weight. He's probably got to get a little bit bigger and stronger and deal with the hits. But like his biggest thing is availability. If Dante is available, like he was Tennessee's best receiver last year. Like Dante is a really good player. That I just. Like you said, he's built in a wide receiver lab of what you're looking for on the inside and outside. But I think the best bet is Omar Norman Lott. I think Omar Norman Lott is going to be in the NFL for like 12 to 15 years. I think he's just someone you look at the end, you're like, man, that dude just quietly always had like 5 or 6 sacks. Like he always played consistently. He was on good teams, and good teams always wanted him. And I don't know. Omar Norman Lott's my pick. I think he's gonna hang around. I think he's gonna be good with the Chiefs, and then I think he's gonna just be someone on depth charts years from now. We're gonna look back and we're like, man, 13-year NFL career for Omar Norman Lott or something. I could see that the most with him.
Yeah, no, I agree. That it just feels like it, for whatever reason. We both almost said the same number too. Like it feels right, like that Omar Norman Lott would just stick around. For the case of Dylan Sampson too, like he feels like a running back that won't necessarily play for 10 years and 8 of them are on the same team. Like, he feels like someone that could bounce around from, contender to contender at times and be a valuable piece here and there. And that's what a lot of running backs nowadays do. Like, it's rare to have the Derrick Henry who stays in the Titans forever before finally moving on, even like a Saquon Barkley right now, who played a good bit for the Giants, and now it's tough to see him going anywhere but Philadelphia for a good bit. Like, a lot of the guys play a few years here, a few years there, and make their impacts in different places. So that's why I don't get too caught up in the quarterback situation and all of that, and this situation like with the Browns, because you probably don't want to, if you had to pick an NFL team to draft you, the Browns are number 32 in a lot of cases. Who's to say he's there in 2 years or 3 years from now if he can get his feet under him and do well personally? Like, that opens the door to trade packages and then leaving in free agency and doing this and that and kind of controlling your own career from there.
I love it. Ryan, Sylvia, what can the good folks check out from you and the team over at ballreport.com this week?
Yeah, we'll have coverage, everything Tennessee athletics, SEC softball tournaments overway. So we'll have some coverage of what the Lady Vols do there, Tennessee baseball, trying to get, the train fully back on the tracks, transfer portal stuff, everything Tennessee athletics at ballreport.com.
I love it. Go subscribe today if you are not already. Ryan, Sylvia, always a pleasure, my friend, and I'll talk to you again next week.
All right, thanks, man.
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas Podcast. Hell yeah.